Manchester United are going to have a busy summer. Reports have basically suggested that almost no players safe in Erik ten Hag's squad. And I think it would be a good idea to go through the entire squad, a couple of the loan players, and assess how much we think they're worth, how much Transfermarkt considers they're worth, and kind of go through the entire squad and see what we think. So first of all, Andre Onana. The man came in last year. He's had a decent season barring the Champions League campaign, all things considered, and I don't think they're going to be considering anything less than what they paid for, and a little bit more. So I think Transfermarkt values him at 34 million, but no chance. I'd say around 55 to 60 is what they'd be looking for Andre Onana. Alti Bayindir, on Transfermarkt, he's worth around £8.5 million, and I think that's probably around fair, and United are probably going to work around what he wants, because he's a backup keeper who hasn't played at all this season, really, apart from one game. So it's going to depend on whether he wants to leave. But I think that's probably a fair price for the goalkeeper. Tom Heaton, he's worth £210,000 on Transfermarkt. And United probably aren't looking to sell Tom Heaton. He's either going to retire or just kind of stay in the background as a third goalkeeper, almost a coach. So I don't think he's really a sellable asset at all for the club. If he wants to leave, you probably take the first offer you get. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, he's worth £17 million on Transfermarkt. He's been a very good defender for United over the years, but I think they might be looking to move him on this summer. He's only got 1 year left on his contract though, which probably affects his price quite heavily. I'd probably be looking for around £25 million for him. You might be looking a little bit higher, but because of that contract, it's a bit of a sticky situation. You want to get him sold if you are looking to do that. So yeah, I think £25 million is probably fair. Diogo Dalot, probably the first player that has been reported as a player that United would only be considering a very high bid for. He's been United's player of the season this year, arguably. He's just signed a new long-term contract, so he's got all of those things on his side. Transfermarkt says he's worth £30 million. Honestly, I don't see United accepting a bid below 60 million for Diogo Dalot. He's young, he's got very good ability to move into a possession-based kind of team, which United might be moving towards. And yeah, I don't think United want to sell him. Some of these players might have higher price tags than they are worth to most people, but if United don't want to sell him, they're going to be putting up a higher price tag. So I think 60 million is probably around about that. Harry Maguire, he's had a solid season after very much difficulties last term. On Transfermarkt, he's worth 17 million. I think United will probably be looking to get more if they are looking to sell him. Of course, defenders might be leaving left, right and centre, so he could stay another year. But if he does leave, I think they'll probably be looking for around 30 million for the centre-back. He's had a very good season. He was worth, I think, around 25 million last year. I think that would have been a good deal for a lot of clubs. But this year, he's had a better season. He could be going to the Euros. Well, he is going to the Euros, and he could be up in his price tag throughout that tournament. So I'd say around £30 million, but it could potentially go a little bit higher. Victor Lindelof is worth £12.8 million on Transfermarkt, and I think that's around fair for the defender, who is probably a bit part player at the moment. So I think that's a fair amount for Victor Lindelof. Lisandro Martinez, £38.5 million on Transfermarkt. United aren't going to be considering that. They bought him for more than that a couple of years ago. Of course, he's had his injury troubles, but when he's fit, he's been one of United's best players. I think they're not going to be considering anything less than 60 to 65 million. And even then, it might get bumped up a little bit more. Because, like I said, with Dalot, I don't think Martinez is going to be a player that United want to sell. Rafael Varane, of course, he is leaving on a free contract at the end of the season. It seems, anyway. United haven't offered him a new deal. He's worth £21 million on Transfermarkt, so it is a shame that something couldn't have been worked out previously, that we could at least get some money from him. But it looks like he's leaving on a free, so that's unfortunate. Willy Camboala is worth £4.2 million on Transfermarkt. Now, he's had a pretty decent debut season. Of course, there was the mistake in the last start. He had I think it was Bournemouth, and he had a very good game against Liverpool, and he's had a couple good cameos off the bench. I think despite being worth around £4 million on Transfermarkt, I wouldn't be looking to sell him. He's a good squad player, especially with other defenders leaving. And he's got very high potential, so I'd say they'd be looking for at least 15 to 20 million to let him go. Johnny Evans is worth 1.7 million on transfer market, and I don't know. I think you either his contract's running out at the end of the season, I believe. So he either goes for free or you sign him on another deal and he stays, basically. So I think United probably aren't looking to sell him. He's either going to leave on a free contract or stay at the club. So yeah, moving on to the left backs, and Luke Shaw is worth £30 million on transfer market, and he's a confusing one. I think he's worth more in terms of talent, but then there's also a massive risk for clubs. So I think around 35 to 40 million, if a bid comes in there, you might be considering, but also there's both sides to the coin, because we know Luke Shaw can be very, very good when he's fit. So yeah, that's a difficult one. I'd say around about that mark, potentially. Tyrell Malacia is worth around 15 million on transfer market. We haven't seen him in about a year. Let's hope that he can get fit for pre-season. But if United are looking to sell him, I think that's probably around about that 15 to 20 million, what we got him for. I don't think he's gone up in price since he joined, and the injury causes a lot of concern. So I think around that mark is a fair value for Malacia. Alvaro Fernandez at Benfica at the moment, but it's likely that he could go because they have an option to buy him. I think it's quite cheaper as well. I think it's around £6 million, which is a shame, and that's what he's valued at on transfer market. But he's a very good defender. He got the under-21s player of the year a couple seasons back, and he got Preston's young player of the year last year. So he's a good defender with a lot of talent. I'd probably be looking for 10 to 15 mil from him. That's a fair price if he does not get snatched up by Benfica for that price of £6 million, which is a bit too cheap in my opinion. Moving on to midfielders, and Casemiro is first up. On transfer market, he's worth £25 million. I'd probably say United should be looking for more than that, especially if clubs from Saudi are kind of looking at him. If that's the case, I'd say 35 to 40 million. United should try to get that much from him. We've seen other clubs kind of fleece the Saudi market to get more than their players are worth, so I think that's probably what we should try and do with Casemiro. But if not, we should probably go down to around 30 million, I think, because of course he's on really big wages, which will impact the clubs interested in him. But I think that's around fair. And next up, Kobbie Mainoo. Of course, this is one of three players which have basically been said are untouchable in the transfer market. You can shop elsewhere in the club, defence, midfield, attack, apart from these three players, and Kobbie Mainoo's the first. £30 million is his value on transfer market, and we can laugh that off because United aren't even going to be considering an offer triple that. So value-wise, it's basically, it's there, and then when someone offers there, it's there. United aren't going to be considering selling Kobbie Mainoo this summer. They can put £150 million price tag on him. Someone offers that, it's £200 million. They're not selling him, basically. Christian Eriksen, he is worth around £8.5 million on transfer market. He's previously mentioned about being unhappy with game time. He's kind of turned into a bit part player. He wants to leave in the summer, and I think United should consider something like that because they got him in a free transfer. It's probably quite good business to let him go for around £9 million. And I think that's probably what people will consider buying him for because his age, his form aren't on his side, so it's not going to be a massive offer. Moving on to Mason Mount, and he's had a difficult debut season at United. I don't think they're going to be considering selling him. Because of that, there's been difficulties with his injury, so they'll probably want to see what he is like with a full season, hopefully, next year. But United bought him for around £55 million with add-ons. On transfer market, he's worth £34 million, but there's no chance United are going to be considering something like that. So I'd say around £50 million to £60 million. If they are open to selling him, they'll be wanting to get exactly what they got for him. So, yeah, I think £50 to £60 million is probably Mason Mount's value, but I don't think he's going to leave. Scott McTominay, his form this season, he's definitely risen his value. Last year, United were looking to get around 30 million from West Ham, and they rejected it because probably of his form. They were unsure. That would have been probably good business for West Ham, but I think he's worth a little bit more than that now. He's on transfer market. He's worth £27.3 million. I'd say around £35 million United should be looking for for Scott McTominay, maybe go down to that 30 million mark if they are looking to sell him and clubs aren't coming in massively for that mark. Bruno Fernandes, United's club captain, one of the most important players this season, and United won't sell him for anything less than a massive offer. So on transfer market, it says Bruno is worth £60 million. I don't think they're going to be considering anything less than 80, because I think that's maybe an amount where you start going, okay, we can really reinvest this amount into the squad. So I don't think anything less than 80 is what United will consider. Hannibal Mejbri, the second loan player, who United, I think Sevilla also have an option to buy. I don't think they're going to be taking it because he's had a very difficult loan spell. It's probably going to be hard to sell him. On transfer market, he's worth around £10 million. And that's likely what you're going to be trying to get for him if you are looking to sell Mejbri. So I think around £10 million is a fair market price, especially because he's had a really difficult season. Moving on to the attackers, and first of all, Alejandro Garnacho, another player who is basically untouchable in the squad. I feel like probably a little bit less so than Mainu, but he has signed a new deal. He has come off the back of a really good season this year with United, and on transfer market he's only worth £34 million, a little bit more than Kobbie Mainu. But again, this is going to be the case of United demanding 150. Someone offers it, they want more. Maybe, I would honestly say Garnacho's a little bit more. If ridiculous money does come in like that, he'd probably be someone you considered a little bit more than Mainu. I'm not saying that United should consider it. But yeah, he's essentially untouchable in this squad. Next up is Marcus Rashford, valued at £51 million on transfer market. And like reports have said, Rashford is probably one of the players where if a club comes in with a very attractive offer and Rashford is open to leaving, they will consider it. An attractive offer, I think, for Marcus Rashford. He's got a long-term contract. He's had a poor season, probably over-analysed by many people, but it's been a poor season. But I still think United should at least be looking to get 80 to 90 million from Marcus Rashford. I think that's the ballpark where United do potentially consider their options with him. But I do think he will stay. I don't think he wants to leave the club. Anthony, meanwhile, of course, is worth £24 million on transfer market. And I think United could be open to selling him this summer. I don't think they're going to get anywhere near what they paid for him, but I think they'll be looking to try and get at least 40 to 45 million of that back. I don't think anyone's really going to be looking to buy him for that much, so it could be a difficult situation where he probably stays because people aren't offering what United want. Moving on to Jadon Sancho. Now, Sancho is worth 21 million on transfer market, and of course he is having a decent half season at Dortmund. I don't think he's setting anything on fire over there, but of course it's much better than when he was just sitting in Carrington for 6 months when he was at Old Trafford. So yeah, I think Sancho's a difficult one. I think if they are looking to sell him, I think that he's probably worth around 30 to 40 million pounds. Again, a massive kind of drop off on what I paid for him. But I'd say Sancho might also be one, depending on Ten Hag and whether he stays at the club. But he might be one that United keep, just because if the change of manager happens, just because I think compared to Anthony, out of those two, I think Sancho can maybe up his value and kind of increase his importance into a new team. Mason Greenwood, of course, the forward, has been on loan since the summer at Getafe, and he's having a good season there. I think it's his best goal scoring / assist season since he made his debut for Manchester United. And on transfer market, he's only worth £12.8 million. Of course, last summer, a lot of clubs were wary about going around him. I'm sure this summer it will be different because he's proven that he's basically still got it. So I expect clubs to be in for him. I expect United to probably sell him, and they should be looking for around £40 million, I think. Because let's be honest, this is a £100 million talent who's not worth that anymore because of the lack of game time, because of the scrutiny around his name. You've got to be looking for at least £40 million for him, and that's quite good. It's pure profit for United. It's a good deal to be made. Moving on, and Rasmus Højlund, the final of the three. This is the last player who United have basically considered untouchable. They signed him for a very lofty amount in the summer, around £70 million. He has got a good debut campaign under his belt, I think. 14 goals so far, 2 assists. In a very, very difficult kind of United team. There is a lot to improve with Højlund, as there is for Garnacho and Mainu, but still, he's a very, very talented striker. Similar to Garnacho, in my opinion, United maybe should consider something astronomical rather than Mainu, where you just keep going up. But yeah, I think Højlund is going to be the same story, where he is off limits this summer. Anthony Martial, same as Raphael Varane, he's going to be leaving in the summer. He's worth £8.5 million, and I mean, this was the best way to get rid of if you're planning to get rid of Martial, running down his contract was the best way, just because, like I said with Luke Shaw, clubs are wary of the injury troubles, and also Martial just, I think the injuries have impacted his performance, and whilst he can still perform at points, he's just not the same player as he used to be. So I think it's best for both parties for him to just leave on a free contract. And last of all, Amad Diallo, the player who I feel extremely sorry for this season. He came on and basically saved United's season against Liverpool in the FA Cup, and now has not started a game since. He's had some good cameos. I think he's extremely talented, and I think he should get more chances either under Ten Hag or a new manager next season. On transfer market, he's worth £15.3 million, but United shouldn't be considering anything less than 30 to 40 in my opinion. That's what the kind of full package for him is worth, and he's got so much more to show. So I think even a little bit more if United are saying, we want to kind of see what he's got, I don't think they should sell him. But yeah, that's all of them. I tried to go through that quickly, as quick as I could, with the entire United squad. But yeah, let me know what you think of the players United maybe should be considering selling. Maybe other players who you think, nah, they should be off limits as well. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to give us a like. If you haven't already, we'd appreciate it if you did subscribe to the channel. And that is all from me. I'll see you in the next one.